And what struck me out was the comedic aspects of it. And you should have been there because people were laughing at the right moment.
Oh, I'm glad.
The coffee table. The clickety-clack of the thing. But of course, it's a very serious and tragic life. The feminist aspects is also one of the things that comes up in that you hope that we would read more of Emily Dickinson after the film. But I think the first thing maybe is the feminist aspects. She has been found out to be an early feminist lately.
I'm not sure she was.
Okay.
And Cynthia and I were talking about it recently, and I don't think she would have embraced feminism.
Okay.
Because like most geniuses, in certain aspects, they're actually quite conventional. You know, like Ibsen, for instance, didn't like to go to the doctor because he didn't like taking his clothes off. You know,
Sure.
And I think she might have been perhaps even horrified of what happened. It's not that she's feminine, but she is aware of the restrictions that are placed on women.
Sure.
But the most important thing about her, I think, apart from her poetry, is that her lifelong struggle, spiritually, is there a God, is there not a God? Is there a soul, is there not a soul? What if there's a soul and no God? What do you do?
Yeah.
And through all her work, and I think through all her life, it oscillated between those 2 points.
Yeah.
And she never actually decides which one it will be. And which is why the last poem in the film, which is actually a middle, she wrote in her middle age, not towards the end of her life. It's, you know, this is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. It's a surrendering, I think, not just to death, but surrendering to, well, perhaps the work isn't any good. All I can do is hope. That's the other thing that moved me about her, the fact that she wasn't recognised in her own lifetime. I think that's tragic, because I think of all the 19th century American poets, she's the best, and well before her time. And I do find that so unfair. But then, you know, life isn't fair, is it?
That's true, it's a bit sad that... Is there a God? Yes. Maybe they don't think that her problem was relevant.
No, perhaps not. But I think whatever promoted that poetry, and I think her life did promote that, because she was actually afraid of her mother, and only wanted her family, and she wanted that to stay there forever. Well, of course it doesn't. People die, they get married, they go away. You can't hold it together. Although Vinnie stays with her, and Vinnie never married either. But also, what do you do when you? She's probably like a lot of women of their period. I mean, terrified of what happens in marriage. It's a sexual thing, and women were not told anything. The implication was, though, it's a duty and not a pleasure. You know.
Think of England.
But if you got pregnant, you could die. You know, I mean, that's common. You know, I mean, and the other thing about it is that, you know, she's suffering from very painful kidney disease, and there's no cure, but there's no painkillers either. There's nothing. I mean, pain ruins your life. You know, and it's extraordinary that she could have written so much poetry that is actually rapturous and joyful. Given the fact that she knows that she's going to die of this disease. Although in the end, she actually died of congenital heart failure, not the kidney disease. But that makes it even worse. There was nothing they could do for either conditions.
I didn't know about the kidney disease. It was wonderfully brought up in the film.
Yes, it's called Bright's disease. It was named after an English doctor in the 18th century who discovered it. But given all those things, it is astonishing that she actually wrote anything, and she writes.
Maybe
This is a genius.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay, you made A Quiet Passion this year and Sunset Song last year. Before that, there were long gaps between your films. How this sudden productivity has something happened to you, or something happened in the circumstances surrounding your films making?
It happened quite by accident, I can tell you. Everything that could go wrong on film went wrong with Sunset Song. Everybody was so supportive, including the finances and the Bond people, everyone, but it just took an awfully long time because there wasn't enough money, and the post-production, little bits of money here, little bits of money there, and that dragged on an awfully long time, to the point where I was able to do the Emily Dickinson and finish it just as we were finishing the post-production on Sunset Song, but that's how it's happened. It was not by design, obviously.
Okay, I haven't unfortunately seen tonight Sunset Song. Was it a more big budget film than okay? It's the same size.
They're all small budgets.
Okay, okay, yeah. In this Emily Dickinson film, they only go out once a while, and I think the house is built in studio.
Yes.
Okay.
But all the interiors were done in Belgium.
Okay. Okay.
And we did some shooting around the house, but we couldn't shoot in there because you can't take a wall out when you need to do a big shot.
Yeah.
It had to be, and it's also a working museum, so we had to build it.
Okay. Do you think that the digital filmmaking has helped you? Do you think that you'll be able to make a new film sooner than you had before when they were years?
I've got two on the cards. Again, it's quite by accident.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's always a problem. I can't waste like because I can put names in. I cast whoever is right.
Yeah.
If they're a name, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if they're not, then they get the role.
Okay.
And that immediately determines what you can do. Also, the more money you get, the more interference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
true.
I never have final cut, so I've got to play a very difficult game of
Really?
Being polite but also saying no, I don't believe if we cut it like that it's true. But that's always a problem because contractually I don't have it, and so I always do worry about that. Of someone saying, well, in the contract I can take it away from you and recut it, and people do it. I've been lucky that hasn't happened to me.
Yeah.
But it's a worry.
Yeah. Your films are so precise, so watching, I wouldn't think that it wasn't exactly the way you wanted A Quiet Passion, for example, that you had final cut.
Yes, but I've had, in the end, final cut on everything. Yeah. It's just that I don't have a contraction.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about this embracing the digital filmmaking in the photograph scenes where the people change and go through the years. Would that been more difficult to use with film? Do you like these aspects of digital filmmaking?
Yes. When we were making Sunset Song, we shot all the exteriors in 65mm, but it was still much more sensitive than digital. But now digital is much as good as film.
Really?
And we shot the whole Emily Dickinson film on digital because it's just as good now. But also you can do the most extraordinary things. You can take things like how these young people do it. I don't know. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
Who work on digital. They say we can take this out. We can put that there. We can put my name. So it's much more versatile. The only drawback with it.
Yes. Okay.
Because everything you can do it so quickly. Yeah. What will happen is the post-production time will be short, and I've always said you've got to have thinking time in the post-production. You've got to say sometimes no. I've got to spend 2 days thinking about this. You might have 6 cuts, but you just go, sorry, I need 2 days to think about it. And luckily you can, but I can see that that's where the money people would want to shorten.
Yeah. Okay. The wonderful actors in this film and in others, choosing them, do you work closely with the casting people or do you trust their instincts? Gillian Anderson, Cynthia Nixon, Keith Harrigan, wonderful choices.
Well, I always tell them the same thing, don't act. I don't want that. Because acting always ends up by being mannered. And I said, no, just be. If you be, it will be true. And there'll be things in it that you won't be aware of what you're doing, but the film will capture that. So, and I keep the number of takes down very short. I mean, a lot of what we got in this, both Sunsets on Alley Backlash, we got under less than 4 takes. Very often it was the first take.
And so long scenes going, a while.
And and you can feel, you just run through it a few times, and you can tell when to go, say, let's do it now. And you can usually tell which take it's going to be. But sometimes the actors would come and say, can we go straight away? I'd say, yeah, go straight away. And very often we say, well, we'll just do another take for safety. But if it's right, it's right. And sometimes, but there are days, obviously, when they're tired and you're tired. It takes a little longer. But that's in every job. It's not just directing. It's in every job in the world.
Sure.
Some days when you just feel tired. Oh, thank you.
Go.
Thank you.
Wonderful. In House of Mirth, you had an actor mainly known from TV work, and also now with Cynthia Nixon, maybe the world knows her from the TV series and the Sex and the City films. Is there something different in casting and directing American actors than maybe British, like Rachel Weisz? Are they actors different, or is there a different approach, have you found?
Gillian's cast. I mean, I don't watch very much television. I'd never seen. What was it called?
Where she was.
Yes.
It's the Scully character.
The X-Files.
X-Files, yeah.
I didn't watch it. Her photograph came in, and I'd just been to see a singer sergeant exhibition. She said, she's got a singer sergeant face.
Yeah.
And someone said, well, she's in this television. I said, well, I don't, because I don't watch it.
Great.
So I said, well, let's get in touch with her, see what she'd be interested in. We met her. She happened to be in London at that time. We met her. I said, I'll send you the script.
Yeah.
She looked at it, and I went over to Los Angeles. I auditioned her, and I said, and she said yes. But well, certainly Nixon was concerned, and I was going to make a film which didn't come off. And I saw it about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'd never forgotten it. And when I was writing the Emily Dickinson, there's only one photograph of Emily Dickinson when she's 17.
Yes.
It's a little one, I guess. And I said to one of my producers, who used to be a source photographer, would you superimpose Cynthia's face on this photograph? And they look almost exactly
Great.
So, but I'd always wanted, and she was very, very loyal to the film. It took 4 years to get off the ground, but she stayed loyal to me. And I knew she was right. You just know when they're right.
Please have your tea. I'm just talking away. It's nice because you have some fixed ideas of actors. I don't know, is the correct use actor or actress? Which do you use?
What's happening now is this nonsense of calling actresses actors.
Okay.
I refuse to call them.
Okay. I'll correct myself.
No, it's the same. It's idiotic. It's idiotic.
Yeah.
And only one person I had to say it. I said, look, as far as I'm concerned, women who act are actresses.
Yeah.
Well, I think they should be called. I said, I'm sorry. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, I'm sorry.
No.
Too bad.
No.
Because I just think, I think it's just silly.
Yeah.
You know,
that kind of.
And it's, but of course, it's an Americanism.
Okay.
You know, it comes from America,
Okay.
and that country is doing, the English language.
So much.
It's damaging it so much. It's really awful. To the point where I think it's becoming dangerous.
Mm.
You know, who wants to speak in text speak?
True. True. Yeah. 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 Okay. So that.
No, but I am getting very old and very miserable. So
No. And
that's my fault.
Yeah, I was thinking about to be very concentrated when you watch A Quiet Passion because of the language, and it gives you so much. The only thing that maybe the Finnish audiences had trouble last night was because there was no translation for the poems.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. It's not been translated. I'm awfully sorry.
Choosing the music, there was also beautiful songs also, and of course the old hymns, songs, music in this Quiet Passion. Do you always find your favorite music, or do you find the music that has to fit in the story?
Well, I write them as I see and hear them, and usually usually the music comes to me. But I write every track, pan, dissolve, everything, including the music, down. And that's for two reasons. One, I then know every shot.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And if it's copyright material here, it's got to be cleared.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, sure.
And especially when it's an integral part of the sequence, you've got to clear it. Sometimes afterwards you think, no, this needs a little bit more. The ending, which is why I chose the old Charles Eyes, the unanswered question it's called. But it's a mixture of both. But you've got to know what you're doing, and it has to, but it has to be intuitive. Sometimes you think, no, we don't need anything.
Yeah, true.
Or
true.
extend this and
Yeah.
use it for the complete length. You have to sort that out in post-production, but I usually know everything that I want to use.
Yeah.
And say, look, there's certain sequences, if we can't get the music for that, there's a problem. Because then we've got the sequence. Because without the music, it won't work.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture of both, really.
Well, okay. Now we come to one of. You didn't probably think that the Neon Bible was a very success in your point of view. I've read it somewhere. I love it. I find it strikes the same chord as the American Gothic in the John Huston, Flannery O'Connor from The White's Blood. I love that kind of religious things and also. But what do you think is in your other American films like this and with Neon Bible? What was the difference? What was what didn't go well with this film? If I'm correct in thinking that you didn't really like the.
It was really. It's really my fault. I mean, in the cutting room, I should have been much more rigorous. Shots go on for far too long, and I should have cut them. I really should have. And I feel as though I betrayed the cast and everyone else, because I just don't think it's a very good film. And it got awful notices, and quite frankly, it got exactly what it deserved, bad notices, because it's not very good. It just isn't, and it's my fault.
Critics are sometimes right. Okay, but I love some of the aspects because I can relate to it. So, and of course the actors, the boy and General is wonderful and so on. So I was thinking maybe I could have your autograph on this film that you don't like so very. maybe there's some. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Your films like A Quiet Passion, they are about growing up, getting older, about families. They seem to be very personal stories. Do you always have to find something that strikes your inside and your heart in the things that you depict, even if it's Emily Dickinson's story? There has to be something that strikes you personally, to put it there.
Because if I don't feel something about something passionately, I can't write about it. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be the story that I respond to. In the last 3 cases, it's been about a woman.
Yeah.
But I mean, I grew up in the 50s when all the big big commercial films were all women were the main characters. All that Heaven Allows, Love Is a Many Splendid Thing.
Yeah.
They just were there.
Yeah.
So it just seems natural, but it's got to be the story at first.
Yeah.
The story's got to be the one that you want to tell. It may just happen to be about a woman.
Okay.
It's the story that's got to be true.
Yeah. There is a struggle to get the budgets and so on, so it's not a very big commercial success. Do you relate to Emily Dickinson in that way, that maybe posterity will find me and my films?
You never know. I doubt it though now.
Really?
I doubt it. No,
Yeah.
I've never cast for those reasons.
No.
I cast the people who were right.
Yeah.
And if someone came along to me and said, well, we'll give you $5 million to cast such and such a person, well, I didn't think was right, I'd just say, then I don't want to
No,
make
because it wouldn't be your film then. Yeah.
And, my attitude would be, if there were problems with that big name,
Yeah.
who would be fired? It would be me,
Yeah, probably.
not them. You know. Because big names are just so indulged, which is why their acting was usually so bad. You know, no one dares direct them. Well, I just think that's nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, there isn't an actor or actress in the world that's above direction. They don't exist. But no, I cast the people who are right.
Ah, very good. Okay. Talking about actresses, Jennifer Eel, was it the sister? Jennifer Eel. Ehle. Okay. And Dixon, they were great, but I was fascinated also by the mother character, the way she only had a few lines, her face, and then the struggle to say something, and falling. So how did you find that actress, and how was your working with her? Is she a well-known theatre actress, maybe?
No, she's an actress, you know, who did a lot of work, but she's not well known. My casting director called the Huppets, and they brought in a number of people. I was away, and so they did these self-tapes, and she was one of them. And as soon as she began to read, I just knew she was right. Just knew. Because in real life, I think Mrs. Dickinson suffered from postnatal depression, because they wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wrote 6 biographies of Emily Dickinson, and they all say the same, that she was very melancholic. She was very close to tears all the time.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And so I thought, well,
Bit touchy.
that's the core of her. She's very quiet, she's rather passive, you know, but those people very often make a powerful influence because they don't appear to do very much.
Yeah.
It's clear that both those girls and the brother adore her, because she's gentle. She's gentle,
yes.
and gentleness is very, very, very strong. But I wanted to try and illustrate why she was like that.
Yeah.
And this is purely autobiographical. There are times in India, round about now, when the sun is low, and at a certain angle, and the most awful feeling of despair comes over me. And I can't help it. I usually start to cry. I don't know what it is. There's something about late sun. And I thought, I think I should give her that reason, say, you know, there are certain times when the sun is low.
Yeah.
And it's such a weight on, and the shadows lengthen.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel. So that was pure autobiography.
Okay.
Because you use all sorts of things that you've seen things in other films. You've changed. You respond differently to the world, and all that comes out through you. You know, but that was a conscious thing. I wanted to have a scene where she explains why she's melancholic.
Yeah. That was a beautiful scene. Yeah. How about, do you think that film has a future now that it's digitalized? I think you're a lover of music and literature. Do you regard them as the same kind of art forms that they will, you know, survive everything?
I'm not
Will
sure.
film survive?
I'm not sure. Not with this computer age. I don't. I have absolutely no idea. None at all. I know that I'm a technophobe. I can't use any of this stuff. But also, I find the modern world really rather repellent. I hate the narcissism of it. And everything revolving around you. Well, when I was growing up, you were told that the world doesn't revolve around you. There are other people in it.
True.
So I don't like that aspect of it. I don't know whether cinema will survive. There is a feeling in me that it's in decline now. You can't go to any cinemas now. They're all multiplexes. I don't want to sit in a box. I want to sit in a proper cinema. But they've all gone because they're too expensive to keep up. But I don't want to be able to watch a film on my watch. You know, I want to see a film on a big screen because that's what it's for. You know, whether it will revive, whether there will be a renaissance, I honestly don't know. I feel that the great days of film are over. I just think they're gone. And you know, when you go to any festival, you see a massive number of films, and you think, well, how are they going to make a living?
Okay. Yeah. True.
And there's, in a way, the irony is that if cinema is declining, the number of films that are being made, I do find that odd. But I think the great days of cinema are absolutely over. No, they're gone.
You should go perhaps to so many festivals that you see the enthusiasm, the passion in them, that there still is an audience wanting to see, like in Sodankylä. People want to see good films still.
But I mean, if you are making films that have got a voice, what do you do against these huge films that have got wonderful CGI and wonderful digital effects? What do you do against that? What do you do? You know, when lots of people go and you put a film out, got no stars, and no one goes. What do? You can't force an audience. You can't force them to go. So I just think we're in a declining years.
Okay. But it's difficult because also in Finland there are quite good films that they maybe get 5,000 people to see them. And then from my hometown Kokkola comes this Uncertain Regard film about the boxer Olli Mäki, the happiest day in the life of Olli Mäki, and wins in Cannes. So now we think that, well, maybe if we stick to, you know, local things, he's a local boxer about whom this film is made of, and a local story, local people in it, and maybe that's global and people can find those stories close to their hearts, and maybe there is still some chance of good films finding an audience. And of course that's a that's an exception. And most of the films, if you don't succeed at first, you don't get the finance to put another film out.
That's so.
Yeah.
And even so, small numbers of people going to see the film, in a way, is even worse than no one going.
Really?
Because it's neither one thing nor the other. I just don't know. And what stories are there? Somebody said, oh, there are only 7 stories, and they just keep on being repeated.
Yeah.
In variations. But it's not the same as sitting in a darkened room with other people, experience that film collectively, but thinking the truth of it is being only told to you. You can't get that in any other way. You can't.
Okay.
Even if you sit at home with friends and switch the lights on, it's just not the same. And all those picture houses have gone now, and they're certainly in England. There were 8 cinemas within walking distance of my house, and another 8 in town. All of them have gone. All of them.
Okay, so
and they were all different.
Yeah.
You know, that's gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Showing
multiplexes are just boxes. There's no. They're dead.
Yeah.
And even before you watching the film, you feel it doesn't feel like an occasion anymore. Whenever I went to the pictures, it was an occasion, and I used to go all the time, but it was always an occasion. And now it's a rectangle, you know, and people are eating. Why they need to eat during the film, I do not know. Or start using their phones. I just think I don't want to sit in there, because it just enrages me.
Yeah.
People, you know, when I first came out, it was quite a long time ago. They issued a new print of The Magnificent Ambersons, and this woman explaining the plot to her daughter. I said, if she's too stupid to follow it, then leave her at home. And the problem is then you can't concentrate on the film because you're waiting for them to start to talk. You know, and I do think that is wrong. But you know, it's happening everywhere. In the number of theatres in London, proper theatre for theatre plays.
Yeah.
The number of people, you know, who are using their phones during the performance. You know, I mean, what do? You have to stop the play and say, you know, well, if you're going to do it, we'll go home.
Yeah.
And 2 actors I know have done it, but they shouldn't have to.
Yeah. No, of course not. Thank you. I have taken half an hour of your time already, so thank you very much that you had this time. Yeah. I hope you have enjoyed the visit and come back soon. Maybe I can take a photo of just for my own personal files. Yeah. I'll be using in the interview piece in my paper. I'll be using the official. They'll probably have here in there. So just for remembrance. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And tomorrow is the masterclass. Well, with you.
so they say.
Well, you should have been seeing the audience. They were raptured last night. It was really, and I had conversations with people, and it was really. I think you have made so many great films, but this is really one of the best. It really went. Thank you.